Hey everyone, my name's Keenan. Welcome to the November 4th, 2021 weekly DXdao community call. Today we'll be discussing the November 11th swapper emission schedule, updated the future of treasury diversification, a special presentation from DXGov surrounding Lisbon, and the Q3 Discord rep boost. But before all that, let's start with some recaps. If you're new, DXdao used to host community calls bi-weekly with recap calls filling in each other week. These calls will go through each of the squads at DXdao, the product teams, etc., recap and present their current happenings. Since this call is not appreciated, we'll be introducing some recaps every once in a while to the regular community call. So to kick it off, Chris, who I believe is here, it'd be great if you kicked us off with some governance recap.
Sure. So just the last couple of weeks for governance in terms of the governance discussion, we're kind of recouping from some of the activity from Lisbon. So last week, the focus was on a lot of different swapper reward campaign launches. So we had to do these on Arbitrum 1 and also DXdao. And because of Lisbon and some of the travel there, we were unable to actually get the DXdao proposals in time for their normal boosting process. So we actually had to go through a majority vote for those. We were able to pass 7 the swapper farming campaigns through a majority vote there. So that was good. And then this week, a little bit more typical governance operations. There's a lot of different contributor proposals that have gone through. There's also been several different rep boost proposals that have gone through for many of the people in the community for the Q3 quarterly rep boost. And as whenever that happens, it does tend to clog the proposal queue a little bit. And given holographic consensus, that can make boosting proposals a little bit more expensive. So the last couple of days have been some managing in terms of getting gen staked on the right proposals. Right now, there is a signal proposal on DXdao and mainnet to extend the buyback program for another $1 million. This would set to pass, I think, Saturday night or Sunday morning, depending on where you're at. And this should set to pass before we would reach the 3 million one, but this would just continue it up to $4 million in purchases. There were a couple different updates more from like the DXGov side, both on kind of some exciting things in terms of proposal to create a Twitter account, and then also some more technical things, but I'll let them talk about that there. And that's kind of what things have been going on with governance the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. I did have one question related to governance. What's the status of DX Vote? Definitely more relevant to the GovDev folk. I do believe Ross will be stepping in later this call. It's his birthday today, if you didn't know. So I think he'll only be stopping in for a short while, but wanted to give an update on DXGov and kind of the Lisbon findings presentation. Cool.
Yeah,
moving on. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I wasn't sure if you wanted me to fill in for them, but yeah, the only thing I'd say on DX Vote is like I think I'm now officially using it for like everything. I figured out how to do all the governance stuff through DX Vote. So yeah.
Yeah, I am as well. Cool. Let's move on to Swapper then, the set, if you want to give a quick recap.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, we are working on like 2 big things, trying to release them as soon as possible. We have Swapper Beta V7, try to push for release tomorrow. For Swapper Beta V7, we'll be adding the Swapper Bridge MVP, which is basically Arbitrum to Ethereum ETH bridge. That's the MVP, and we'll continue building on that bridge and add more like ERC20 tokens and add more networks. But that's the MVP will be Arbitrum first, ETH first, and we welcome everyone to try it out when it's out. Try to push for that for a release tomorrow. And the next release, we'll try to, after that, try to push for single-sided staking for Swapper. So that's the second big thing we'll try to release. Other than that, we are fixing and doing some improvements on farming and the overall adding new markets to Echo Router, and we have a person working on the Echo Router now, which is super great. We'll see a lot of nice features being added to Swapper.
Thank you, Zet. I did have one question left with me, which you kind of answered. It's simply when bridging and single side stake. Maybe if you did say obviously upcoming, but maybe if you have a more kind of timeline focus on that, that would be great. Otherwise, we can move on.
So I know something. Every time I give a date, something postpones like 2 weeks. Do you guys want to wait two more weeks, or do you want to get it as soon as possible? No, but we look to release the bridge bit by bit instead of like releasing a big update. We release it as an MVP first. We want people internally to test it out, and people, the inner community, to test it out. So before we go out and say, "Hey, Swapper bridge" to everyone else, we need to use it internally and let the internal community also use it. It will be live on swapper.eth, but just the MVP. So we're not allowing ERC20 tokens yet. We'll allow only ETH bridging from Arbitrum to Ethereum and back. So yeah, step by step. I think that's a good way we learned to release stuff. Crypto moves fast, and we need to move fast with it.
Yeah, super great response. Thank you, Zet. Moving on here to our last recap, just looking at BizDev and maybe a bit of DX Ventures with Sky, if you could take that away.
Sure. So a few different things happened recently and ongoing. Is probably the most interesting. Earlier this week, there was a Medium post specifically about the DXdao Swapper BadgerDAO vaults kind of collaboration that has been in the works for quite a few weeks now, and all 4 of the set vaults that are on Badger are now live, and there's, I think, a total of around $5.5 million of capital, which are Swapper LP tokens, deposited into those set vaults. 2 biggest being IBBTC WETH and Badger token WETH. So that's really cool to see. Hopefully those continue to grow, and there will be, ongoing collaboration and potentially additional future collaborations around, helping to bring BTC to the DeFi ecosystem. Obviously, these were focused on Arbitrum, but there's opportunities potentially in the multi-chain world, and so keep an eye out for things there. The same time, so next topic, there is, and this has been it took a while to get farming going on XDAI chain. So, but farming has been now live on Swapper XDAI for a couple of epochs now, and all along, there's been a plan to work more closely with the XDAI stake community, and help team up to help grow the products that are on XDAI. That DXdao has been leveraging XDAI for a while, obviously with governance, with Omen, and now also with Swapper. And so there's been discussions for a long time now, but now there's a live proposal on the XDAI forum to kick off just basically a starter liquidity rewards combination collaboration where DXdao is seeking some stake rewards to be used in XDAI Swapper incentive pools. Some may be multi-token rewards, which is a cool tech that Swapper has. Some could be individual pools specifically with just stake rewards. And at the same time, DXdao community or Swapper community is asking, the XDAI stake community to propose pools that they think would be good to incentivize and things like that. So pull in the knowledge and the the awareness of the interesting projects that are happening in the XDAI space to bring those into the kind of the swapper farming epochs that are happening, and this will give some additional value through stake token to contribute to that. So that proposal has only had a little feedback in the forum so far, but if anyone can take a look at that, comment, make suggestions, maybe alterations, whatever, that would be cool. But I think that at least I know there's some core people in the XDAI ecosystem that are excited about that type of collaboration, but it would be great to other opinions from the greater XDAI ecosystem. And then lastly, another interesting topic is on the DXBiz call earlier this week, Pocket Network, which is basically decentralized Infura, which has been gaining traction across the space, came and did a show and tell and a QA with the community on the call, and I get the sense that in general, most of the DXDAO community, obviously with the core beliefs of DXDAO, of decentralization, we've been counting on using and some centralized mechanisms in our tooling, like such as Infura. And if there's an alternative to use that's more decentralized and has a plan to really truly become a decentralized, community-owned system and network, it makes sense for DXDAO to experiment with that, for DXDAO to participate in that, and for DXDAO to potentially invest in that as well. And so there are ongoing discussions around how to make that integration happen, how to bring it into the products that DXDAO is building, and then work with the Pocket team to get things moving. And then at some point there could or to actually use the product in the end, you actually need their tokens, and so you have to acquire some of their tokens in order to stake, in order to use their services. But that's kind of the medium term outlook. But yeah, so that's that conversation's ongoing, and so figuring out what the next steps are for that and how to move it forward from a technical integration, and then from a bigger partnership and potentially investment opportunity, that would be that's ongoing. And then I guess lastly is on the DX Venture side, there's also an opportunity that's being looked at with an entity called Double, which is basically bringing a solution to the space that is in a platform that makes it easier and more efficient to let token or projects or token holders who have one side of a liquidity pair match up and attract the secondary side of a liquidity pair to basically combine forces to provide liquidity into an AMM pool and things like that, and have it incentivized and have both parties win because of it. And so that's a unique thing that doesn't really exist in the space, and so it's interesting to hear that people are working on that, and DXDAO has to basically decide if that's something that it thinks will be important in the space, and if we want to be a participant alongside that. And then eventually that tool would be used kind of in the ecosystem, in the suite of tools that DXDAO is building, even though DXDAO is not building it itself, to invest in a team that's building, and you could then pull that product into the DXDAO suite of products in the DeFi space. So yeah, those are the four main things going on. If there are questions, happy to answer.
Yeah, thanks so much, Sky. No questions left with me, but if anyone would like to, feel free to write in the chat or request to speak. And that goes to governance and Swapper as well. If there's no comments, we'll move on to the next topic in a second. Cool. Let's move on here. Thanks again, Sky, Zet, and Chris. Let's quickly chat the November 11th swapper emissions. I put out a thread on DAO Talk yesterday, which I will drop in the chat. So let's go over some of the changes, starting with the fundamental changes. And there is actually one important one I missed in the thread, as commented by Venki. The first thing is that we're proposing a chain allocation change, looking to move our... Sorry about that. I think we're good again. Cool. Yeah, so moving XDAI from 10 to 20%. Obviously, XDAI has been exploding, and relative to their TVL allocation, obviously we're tight with the XDAI community and team, and would love to show a little bit of love there. And looking to this, we're also interested in more consistent per chain changes as well. We've been managing performance on single chains, but obviously the larger emission allocation is relevant as well. So we'll monitor this, provided it passes governance, and see the effect that it has. Hopefully help to grow the XDAI community further. The next big topic is single-sided staking, as Zet mentioned. Not much for me to say here, but it is very soon trademark. I think we're expecting a forum post early next week, if not late this week, that should go into the specifics, the allocations, etc. But just something I want to bring up here. And the last kind of fundamental change is that on Arbitrum, there's a handful of safer pairs that we're much more comfortable with, and don't expect to see any significant changes. So we're considering, I don't believe this is confirmed yet, but it's up for discussion in the forum, of course. We're considering moving those stable pairs to a much more, a longer cadence. So instead of 1 epoch, they would last 2 epochs, require a little bit less micromanaging. Obviously, this helps with our partners as well that need to use our contracts, etc. So those pairs are Swapper against ETH, USDC against ETH, Wrap Bitcoin against ETH, DXD and Curve against ETH, which have all been doing fantastic, and we don't expect any further changes. As for the per chain allocation, I won't dive too deep into it, but we saw some minor changes, mostly moving allocations away from the lower performers and into the higher performers. Notably, Curve has been doing excellently in both TVL and volume significantly outpacing the TVL even. So we've added some more rewards there. We've added some more to ETH against Wrap Bitcoin, USDC against ETH. We slightly reduced our DAI, GRT, RB, and GNO allocations as they've been underperforming. And if you're yet to see it, I will drop another link in the chat that's relevant, a spreadsheet that just goes over the on-chain data. And then XDAI saw even less in the changes, a slight reduction with Wrap Bitcoin, which was struggling on XDAI, and a slight increase to stake against XDAI, since it has been doing very well recently on Swapper. And then obviously mainnet will not be able to make any changes until next epoch, as we deploy the first 4 in one go. So obviously looking for feedback there as well, what we should do with mainnet if we want to keep the allocations, if we want to move them around, add, subtract, change the pairs, etc. Looking for feedback on that in the next 2 weeks as well. But I think that's kind of the overarching idea. The big fundamental changes are super important and obviously need the community's feedback. So before any proposals start getting shot out, it'd be great to have anyone here interested share your thoughts in the thread that I linked above. But yeah, I'm not sure if anyone else, maybe Chris or Venki, I don't know if he's here, had any comments, but I think that's kind of the overarching point of the next epoch here.
Yeah, only thing to add was, the ones you kind of put into that tier. I think it's nice to think that those are pairs that like Swapper has kind of cornered or has been successfully using rewards to get some volume and liquidity. And then, yeah, the same thing with XDAI. Like, it's nice to see some adjustments to these as we react to where things are successful.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. I don't believe I had any questions left with me, but if there's any in the thread here or in the comments, please feel free to speak up. Otherwise, we can move on. Dave, who is in the audience, I'm inviting you up now. We'll be moving on to the Treasury update in just a moment.
Hi guys, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Awesome. Yeah, so as Keenan mentioned, I made a blog post a couple of days ago, or yesterday perhaps, about the current state of the Treasury diversification. So we recently just completed kind of like the third round of the Treasury diversification, which kind of puts us in a position where we currently hold $12.5 million in stablecoins, which is spread among 5 different stablecoins. The majority of the holdings are in USDC, RAI, and DAI. And this gives us more or less at our current burn rate of US dollars, 5 years of runway. And in the forum is a bit of a overview and a couple of graphs of how we acquired these stablecoins over the year. So interesting fact, at the beginning of the year, we actually held $0 in stablecoins. So this has really been an effort which has been ramping up throughout the year. And other than that, it also looks at what the future of treasury diversification is. And I think the whole idea of the forum post is to kind of hear the opinion of the community, of contributors, of rep holders. So if you haven't checked out the forum post, please do go take a look and share your comments, whatever they are. And one proposal that was nuggets at which we would buy some ether. So I guess in a traditional kind of world, it would just be some limit orders at a certain price. But for us, it would more look like parking some money in the multi-sig, and then at a certain price point, which we have not decided yet, or we would have to decide upon together. The multi-sig could go and execute a trade for some stable coins. One of the main reasons for holding some assets in the multi-sig is to be able to move quick, because all of these trades, of course, happen on mainnet. And let's say in a perfect world, if we pass the proposal perfectly, it takes exactly 8 days to pass. And that 8 days is pretty much an eternity in the crypto world, right? So having some, liquid assets which can be easily accessed, if we do decide to go for such a structure, could definitely be, a good way to handle that. And I'll post the link as well in the chat here on Discord. And if you haven't checked it out, please do take a look and just drop your feedback or whatever you think about it in the forum. And then we'll just take it from there.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dave. I think we have Pink Hog hopping into the call hopefully shortly. We'll likely have some thoughts to share. I do have a couple questions left with me. This one starts with, should DXdao be selling ETH, and are there plans to buy it back if ETH goes back down?
Yeah, that's a great question. I guess that's the whole point of the proposal, right? So I guess this will eventually be turned into a proposal which will be voted on chain. And I think the decision will be made there, right? So it's not like, I'm making the decision here. I'll, trying to put together a proposal based on the feedback I'll get from the community. And then we'll see if the proposal passes or not, I think, one comparison which was made in the forum is that most other DAOs are trying to buy Ether while we're selling it, right? But I think we're also in a very unique position where our treasury isn't composed 99% of our native token, right? So I think it's not quite a fair comparison to compare to other DAOs which, are lying, sitting on pretty much just their native token. So I would definitely be in favor of buying some Ether at some higher price points. I think we all know crypto markets can be very volatile, and if we do have the opportunity to execute some trades at some all-time highs for now, I think that's definitely a good idea. And I also don't see an issue if Ether were to, let's say, crash or some significant reduction. We might even be able to buy back some Ether with those stable coins for sure. It would just have to be a proposal, but I think that's something, of course, which would have to be voted on as a proposal again. But it's definitely an option, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Just to reiterate before moving on to the next question, anyone's welcome to raise your hand here. Anyone's welcome on the stage at any time, so feel free to do so if you'd like to speak. I do have another question here. When will DXdao get staked ETH? I know maybe not directly relevant, but
Yeah, no, totally. So I was actually working on these proposals kind of at the same time. So I think, I'll let this post on the forum for a couple more days to kind of garner some feedback there. And then I think staking ETH is definitely the next step. And, eventually also looking into perhaps yielding on some stable coins. I think personally it would be good to just beat inflation, to have something along those lines, not necessarily to be a large revenue driver, but to keep up with inflation on the stable coins. And I think staking ETH also makes sense. And I say watch out on the forum next week probably.
excellent. I have a comment here from Unome in the chat. It says, can these sales/buying proposals be preloaded/fast tracked?
This is buying stables with Ether, yeah?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, so the point of actually transferring the funds to the multi-signature in advance is to kind of fast track this and avoid the 8-day proposal process, right? So that's kind of what is being discussed in this forum post, yeah.
Excellent. I do have one more here. They ask, have you considered Yearn or Aave for your stables? I know you kind of answered this, but maybe more protocol specific.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this also, protocols would have to be approved on chain. I believe some of them actually have already been approved on chain in a previous proposal. But I think, if we take a conservative approach where we're looking at beating inflation, maybe, earning a bit more on the stables, I think we'd definitely be looking at some of the more established protocols with high TVLs. I think particularly if you look in past week, the Cream protocol, which had been around for almost a year, even there's definitely risk involved. So I think I would probably rather look at the more established ones like Compound, maybe Aave, yeah. Yeah, again, that would be an on-chain proposal, right? But I think those are the ones that make most sense as of now.
Excellent. And I have one more here in the chat. Hopefully we'll stop grilling you after this. Any thoughts on the non-pegged stablecoins?
Yeah, so I mean, one of the largest stablecoins we hold is RAI, right, which is not pegged to the US dollar. And I think there are a couple of competitors, of course. I think overall DXdao is quite bullish on RAI, and it's slightly volatile, but very little. And I think we are actually the largest holder of RAI if you exclude the pools on Uniswap, etc. I would say DXDAO in general is quite, supportive of non-US dollar pegged stablecoins. And if there are any further, we're always happy to look into new tokens, and if they are decentralized and look cool, I think we're pretty much open to anything, I would say.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Dave, for stepping in. I think we'll move on now if there's no further questions. Cool. So next on the agenda, we have a little small presentation from DXGov. I believe Ross is here. I'll invite you to the stage here. Maybe on the shorter side, it is Ross's birthday today, so don't want to hold him up at all, but he did want to share a bit more.
Hey, can you hear me now?
Loud and clear.
Oh, awesome. Cool. Yeah, so I mean, a bit less of a presentation and more of here's, I'll just give a link to the DAO Talk post that was made. Oh, thank you, Nathan. Yeah, so if you want to take a look in that forum post, it's kind of the write-up that I did from a presentation, I think now last week sometime. Sorry for any background noises. There's a dog in the house. Yeah, so it was kind of taking a look at Lisbon, but more from the governance perspective. I think you've probably heard a lot and probably have plenty of FOMO about everything that happened in Lisbon, so I won't drill on too much about that. But the main idea was that sort of from the DAO specific events, like the DAOist and just talking to people, there's quite a lot that I personally took away, and that the DXGov team sort of generally had, and sort of looked at ourselves and what our path was in the future and where we're going to be going. So so the main event was the Daoist, as I mentioned, which is something that we sponsored in Paris as well, and I think went quite well. I think our table was pretty much the busiest from all the sponsor booths, and we had quite a lot of good conversation there. Chris also gave a talk, if someone wants to link that for everyone to see. So the main sort of takeaways from that was that, like, our form of governance is quite novel to a lot of people and not that well understood. And there's a lot we can do there for, like, educating people and explaining what we're doing and what we're building towards with Governance 2.0 as well. And so that's where the idea of DXGov Twitter came from. So there was a proposal put on chain on XDAI that passed with about 20% quorum, which was quite successful. And so there's now a DXGov Twitter. You can check it out, and there should be some more interesting stuff on there soon. The idea is kind of to use it more as a sort of conversational Twitter, so taking part in more community discussion and trying to educate and get the idea behind what we're doing with governance out there a bit more. Alongside that, in Lisbon, kind of coincidentally to some extent, as well as related to the conferences, we had quite a few large protocols come to us and ask about our governance and if they can maybe use some form of it. I won't go into details here just for confidentiality reasons. Obviously, they're still sort of in talks, but a lot of protocols that you might have heard of before, and one more seriously that we've been talking to, and likely you should hopefully see an announcement soon about that, if you keep your eyes on the space and on the Twitter also. So currently we can't immediately offer what our governance is, because it's very much based on rep and it takes time to build up. We've kind of been building it up for 2 years now. So the idea is to offer some sort of initial thing that we can give to protocols, which is maybe more on the side of liquid token voting, which has a lot of issues, but then also has a path into Governance 2.0, which is what we're personally, internally building towards, as what we see as as far as we can get to, perfect form of governance, but we'll see how that works out in practice. If you take a look at the forum, also there's some images in here from a presentation that just kind of explains these two different types of voting. The idea is to offer something that can then lead into what most people want, and what there's obviously sort of a demand for in the industry as sort of regulation becomes a larger issue. There's a lot of protocols that are going, we need a real DAO and not just a multi-sig, like an actual decentralized DAO. So that's kind of leads into what's next. And DXGov, it's a relatively new squad. Previously it was essentially just Augusto working on his own on DX Vote, and it's now kind of expanded into a team of, I think at last count 6, maybe potentially soon going on 7 people. So it's kind of expanding quite quickly, and we'd just been working on DX Vote mostly for our own internal reasons, which still has its place. We still need our governance platform, and it's kind of what makes it a good governance platform, is that it's tested, it's used, it's actively worked on by a DAO to manage our treasury and everything that we do. And so that's still going to be a focus, and refactoring the code actually is something we've been focusing on this week and will be for the following weeks. But what's really changed is more focusing and making a priority on guilds to ship that. So if the announcement comes out soon, then you'll be able to see that we're kind of moving to ship this faster, so that we can offer this sort of immediate, sort of better governance system that has a path into what we see as the best governance system. So yeah, there should be a lot more on that soon, and I'd highly advise everyone that's interested in governance and what we've been doing to pay attention to just the DXGov squad in general and the Twitter as well. Yeah, and if you'd like, take a read through the article. It goes into a bit more detail.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ross. I do have a couple quick questions from the same person, actually.
Go for it.
If you're awesome. The first one is, when will Governance 2.0 be available? I know maybe not 100% relevant, but
no, yeah, it's relevant. I mean, like, yeah. So the final image in the forum and in the presentation that I gave was our end goal, and that is Governance 2.0. So everything kind of points there. So I can't give exact timelines. Technically, it's not, now that we have DXvote and we have a lot of control over our governance, it's no longer using DAO Stack or Alchemy. The technical work on implementing Governance 2.0, I would say, is less than the operational and like security work that's involved in Governance 2.0. So changing how our governance works is like a large thing, and we need to take it slowly and carefully. So there's a few things, and we have a plan and a roadmap, and it'll be fleshed out more just in the weeks and months to come. But I would say not too long, but not immediately either.
Excellent. I think that runs over to their next question. When can I use DXvote for my project, and will it include Governance 2.0?
So I can't tell you entirely for sure yet. I mean, the first thing we'll be launching externally will be what we've termed guilds, which is essentially liquid token voting in a more decentralized way. At some point, we will likely have DXvote be available. There's a lot of UX work that needs to get done, is ongoing there currently. But I would hope, kind of as we are testing out Governance 2.0 internally, that we would start to think about releasing DXvote as more of an external option there. So kind of unfortunately the same answer as when Gov 2.0, when DXvote for other projects is kind of a similar answer there. Sometime soon, but not immediately.
Yeah, I think the answer is when it's ready, right?
Yeah,
but I guess it's maybe not too early to start thinking about it as a project. Like DXdao is using DXvote, in DXdao on Arbitrum. It's the only case, and that's the non-transferable reputation-based form of governance. And part of using that as a community involves figuring out like who's going to get some reputation to start, right? Like if you go back, the history of DXdao is when it was launched by Gnosis and DAOstack, kind of doing this distribution, and that seeded a community. It wasn't perhaps the most efficient, but it got an initial rep distribution from which to build. And so I think like it's maybe not too early to start the conversation with folks about like how this would work inside of your community, and we're happy to talk about that with you as well.
Yeah, so the nice thing there as well is like with all these projects interested, I think it's kind of renewed, or not renewed, but even just like created this like understanding from our side that, oh, this is something we have a lot of opportunity with, and so it's something we're going to be trying to move as fast as possible on.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ross and John. Ross, I'll let you head out. Happy birthday again.
Awesome.
Super happy you had time to step in here. Yeah,
it was great to chat. And if you have any more questions, leave it in the Gov-specific Discord chats. And follow the squad on Twitter also.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Take care.
I know a great. I was just gonna say, I know a great tweet thread. I know a great tweet thread that DXGov can retweet. John's, so maybe that's a. It's like a great kind of avenue. I feel like maybe that's something for the DXGov Twitter. Maybe not the DXdao, but anyway, everyone going please clap.
This one here. Perfect. Just moving on to the last topic. This will be super quick. I wanted to give a quick update on the Discord rep boost. Last time we chatted about it, it was up to a proposal. That proposal has since passed. Obviously, this has gone through the form and through a proposal now. So most people that are very tight with the community have actually already submitted their rep boost proposals. To retail, I think maybe we're missing Pink Hog in the super active. But the retail Discord rep boosts are quarterly kind of distribution of voting power to those that are most active in the community. Kind of a governance gateway drug, as I described it when I proposed it initially in Q1. It's been super successful at kind of decentralizing our voting power to people that actually care about doing so, and leaves the door open to those that want to get more involved. So it's kind of a quick recap. The Signal proposal passed. People are able to claim. I'm going to put the thread here again, and we can probably just move on. Anyone here that is using the Discord, which should be all of you, double check in that thread against the snapshot if you're eligible, and feel free to reach out to me or anyone in the community support channel if you need some help getting set up with the governance side of things. Cool. Let's chat open questions. Anyone's obviously able to step up here, but I do have a couple left with me on the last couple minutes of the call. Let's start with, why isn't the buyback sheet being updated? Maybe I can answer this. I don't know, Chris, if you have a thought or not. I think you said something in the forum, or sorry, in the Discord.
Yeah, I think it was updated last Thursday or Wednesday, might have been the last one. We did just switch from like manually inputting to running a script for it, and I think that worked last week, but I think there's some problems with it right now that I think we'll hopefully fix today or so.
Yeah.
Today, tomorrow.
So I just have a dependency problem on my laptop because I'm not at home right now, so it's actually my fault. I'm trying to solve that today or tomorrow morning, so then everything should be updated. And I apologize for that.
And just in terms of like the reporting on that, like the proposals, right? You can always see those on the DXvote or Alchemy, and you can kind of track the ones that are going through there. And then after the orders are executed, you pull the data from DXdao, and it's just a little tricky to pull the data through Gnosis protocol because it's not. Yeah, it's a little tricky.
Yeah, thanks, Chris and Dave. Much appreciated. And we'll hopefully be looking forward to that today or tomorrow. One more question left with me. I actually think this might have been caught in the last community call, but just to repeat here, since it's a bit of an update. When are you releasing the Omen Alpha that was shared on Twitter, referring to the video that was shown at the prediction market event, of course. Not going to say a date on the actual alpha itself, but there will be maybe a little bit of something to look forward to in the month in review. So if you're paying close attention, you might get a little sneak peek. And that is what I have with me today. If anyone has any follow-up questions, feel free to shoot. Any topics, ENS even, whatever we want to chat about. Otherwise, we can end the call here. Watching the chat, don't think anyone is speaking up. Just some laptop discussion. Well, awesome. Let's end the call here. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Much appreciated. And we'll see you next week, Thursday, same time. Have a great night, guys.
Cheers, though.